The hotel room smells like rain and iron. You're sitting at a desk in Zurich. 4th floor. Corner room. Curtains half drawn. On the table in front of you, a burner phone with 14 unread messages, a glass of water you haven't touched, and a printout of a shipping manifest with 3 words circled in red ink. You don't panic. Panic is for people who don't see the whole board. You fold the printout into quarters. You put it in your jacket pocket. You stand, pull on your coat, and walk out of the hotel without checking out, because you checked in under a name that doesn't exist, paid in cash that can't trace, and the security camera in the elevator has been cycling the same 4-minute loop since yesterday afternoon. You step into the street. The city moves around you, oblivious. This is not a story about violence. This is a story about architecture. Every empire in history has had 2 versions, the one the public sees and the one that actually runs things. The global criminal economy generates between $2 and $3 trillion annually. That's larger than the GDP of most nations on Earth. And the vast majority of it isn't managed by men with guns in warehouses. It's managed by people like the version of yourself you're about to become, people who think in networks, in redundancies, in layers of plausible deniability stacked so deep that even a seasoned investigator would need years just to find the edge of the structure. You are not a criminal in the way movies imagine criminals. You've never raised your voice. You've never held a weapon. Your violence is entirely logistical. What you do is design systems. And the system you've designed is one of the most sophisticated in the world. Let's walk through it, level by level. Level 1, the apprentice year. You didn't start at the top. Nobody does. You started as a logistics consultant for a mid-sized import-export company in Rotterdam, at the age of 26, with a degree in supply chain management and a mind that could hold 12 variables in tension simultaneously. Your employer at the time wasn't fully criminal, maybe 60% legitimate. The other 40 was a lesson in what the margins looked like when rules didn't apply. You learned the language of ports, customs delays, container rotation codes, and duty valuations that shifted depending on who signed the paperwork. You learned that the most powerful document in global commerce isn't a contract, it's a manifest. Because nobody reads a manifest the way they read a contract. A manifest is background noise. And background noise is where you hide things. By year 2 you're not hiding product. Not yet. You're hiding money. Small amounts. Routing payments through shell companies in Malta and Hong Kong, converting proceeds through a dry cleaning chain in Antwerp that your employer technically owns but operationally controls through a third party. You file the reports. You make everything look clean. You earn your reputation not by being bold but by being invisible. Level 2, the architect rises. 3 years in, you receive an invitation that isn't written down anywhere. A dinner. Geneva. A man across the table from you who speaks 4 languages and controls distribution networks across 11 countries. He doesn't ask you to join him. He asks you a question. If you had to move 40 million euros through 6 jurisdictions in 90 days without triggering a single flag, how many transactions would you use? You don't hesitate. You say, depends on the jurisdictions. But fewer than you think. He smiles. That's the moment your life changes. Within 6 months, you've been integrated into an infrastructure that most governments don't fully understand exists. Your official title, on the books of a consulting firm in Liechtenstein, is Senior Risk Analyst. Your actual role is Strategic Coordinator, the person who decides how the pieces move without ever touching the pieces themselves. The network at this stage processes roughly $800 million annually across pharmaceuticals, digital asset conversion, real estate, and luxury goods arbitrage. You have 42 indirect contacts and no direct subordinates. You are a node. But you're the most important node. And you begin to shape the architecture rather than just navigate it. Level 3, the operational layer. Here is what your average week looks like from the outside. Monday, you're in a co-working space in Singapore, reviewing investment prospectuses for a real estate development fund. Wednesday, you're on a call with a shipping logistics firm in Dubai, discussing container manifest irregularities that a client wants resolved quietly. Friday, you're having lunch with a compliance officer from a European bank who owes you a favor he doesn't fully understand he owes. From the inside, what's actually happening? The prospectus is a vehicle. It absorbs liquidity from 6 separate criminal operations across Southeast Asia and converts it into legitimate construction investment, which then generates returns that can be taxed, declared, and spent. The container irregularity is a seizure risk. A shipment of synthetic precursors mislabeled as agricultural chemicals has attracted attention at the port of Jebel Ali. You have 4 hours to reroute the cargo through a secondary carrier and ensure the manifest is amended before customs enforcement makes the call. The compliance officer is an early warning system. He doesn't know he's that. He thinks he's maintaining a professional relationship. But every time he mentions internal audit priorities over lunch, you're listening for the thing he's not saying. This is the texture of your world. Nothing dramatic. Nothing cinematic. Just information processed faster than anyone else can process it, converted into decisions that protect billions of dollars in moving assets. Level 4, the weight. But now we need to talk about the part that doesn't show up in the operations manual. Because at a certain altitude, and you are at altitude now, the decisions you make have consequences you never see directly but feel in peripheral ways that become harder to ignore. There's a prosecutor in Bucharest who gets too close in 2019. You don't order anything. You don't make a call. You simply provide information to someone who has an interest in that prosecutor being discredited, and you provide it knowing exactly what will happen. His career is destroyed within 4 months through a coordinated leak of fabricated correspondence. He retires early. His wife leaves him the following year. You didn't do that. Technically. But you know what the word technically has started to cost you at 3 in the morning when the hotel room is quiet. There's a shipment in 2021 that you authorized through a network you've built in West Africa. You know, in aggregate terms, that the product will cause a measurable number of deaths. You've run the calculus. The network generates revenue that funds operations that fund infrastructure that protects people higher up the chain. You've made the calculation so many times that it no longer feels like a calculation. Feels like maintenance. That's when you understand something critical about power at this level. It doesn't corrupt you dramatically. It doesn't turn you into a monster in a single moment. It normalizes you. Slowly. Incrementally. Until the thing you used to need to justify, you no longer think to justify at all. Level 5, the final architecture. By year 10 you control, or more precisely you influence, a network operating across 23 countries with an estimated annual throughput of $4 to $6 billion. You have no face. No digital footprint worth finding. Your name appears on nothing. You live in a specific kind of silence that the very rich learn to build around themselves. Not a bunker. Not a fortress. Just distance. Distance between yourself and anything that can be pointed at in a courtroom. But here is what took you years to understand, the thing they never tell you in any version of this story. At the top of a structure this large, you are not in control. You are responsible. There's a difference. And it is enormous. Control means you can stop things. Responsibility in a system this size means the system uses you as much as you use it. You've built something that now requires maintenance to survive. That maintenance has a momentum. That momentum has a direction. And the direction is not something you set anymore. The direction is something you manage. You are no longer the architect. You are the infrastructure. There's a line in systems theory that says complex networks don't have single points of failure. They have distributed failure modes. What that means, practically, is that by the time something starts to collapse, it's already failing in 17 places simultaneously, and nobody saw the first crack. You've spent your career making other people's networks more resilient. But somewhere between year 6 and year 8, you stopped asking whether your own network was the thing that was going to break. Because the honest answer was, it doesn't matter if you break. The network goes on. Someone fills the node. Someone who is, right now, probably sitting in a logistics consulting firm in some port city, processing variables, thinking ahead, learning the language of manifests. You never changed the system. You became the system. And the system doesn't end. It just absorbs the next person who thought they were smarter than it. The street outside the Zurich hotel is exactly as you left it. Rain on stone. People moving. The city breathing. You fold your coat collar up. You walk 3 blocks north. You turn into a cafe, order an espresso in flawless German, sit at a corner table with your back to the wall, and pull your phone from your jacket. 14 messages. You open the first one. Read it. Process the variables. Outside, through the rain-blurred window, someone is carrying an umbrella they almost forgot this morning. Someone else just got a job they've been hoping for. A child is late for school and doesn't care. The world moves at its own speed, oblivious. You begin to type your response. If this hit differently than you expected, it was supposed to. The most dangerous systems in the world don't announce themselves. They look exactly like everything else. Subscribe. The next one goes deeper.